Night one is in the books. It was cold apparently in Philly. They should come and live over in fucking England for a couple of days and soon know what cold is. Anyway, night one is in the books. Night two is on the horizon, and we are going to review night one and predict night two. And he's back after a few weeks hiatus. House all in order. The gimmick machine himself, Mr. Dave Robinson. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Human gimmick machine. I like that.
Not another name. Good
I
enough.
like that gimmick.
Oh,
Yeah.
mate.
Glad to be back. Sorry for my absence. Sorry I haven't been available much the last few weeks. I had a lot going on in the world of central heating and at home. But as we were just speaking off air, things have eased up, and I'm looking forward to talking WrestleMania. Enjoyed it. Got some criticisms. Got some stuff I really liked. Like there was a lot of moments that I enjoyed as well. I know it's cheesy, but WrestleMania moments, there was certainly a few of those. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the show. Looking forward to night two, and looking forward to chopping it up with you.
Indeed, indeed. Chopping up a nice word from our good friend Parker, who is in America. I don't know if he watched WrestleMania, but shout out to Parker. And also shameless plug from Dave. He said central heating on his hat there. Anyone in the Midlands that needs any heating done, there's your people. Just follow them on Facebook or on anything else that you guys have got going. Before we get into Mania, um, I have to bring this up because I sent you a picture about it. And we do have to bring it up because it's slightly into WrestleMania as well. You may have seen CM Punk's interview with Ariel Helwani WrestleMania week. Opened up a lot of, he spoke uh, in depth about a lot of stuff that happened in AEW. And AEW are retaliating to this by apparently showing footage of the incident at Wembley. Now, from a lot of the internet, well, not the internet, from a lot of the dirt sheets in America, they are actually going to be showing the incident between CM Punk and Jack Perry. I didn't agree with Punk saying it, and I don't agree with AEW airing it. Is this just getting a bit fucking silly tit for tat now?
Well, it's created some buzz, mate. I think so. When I watched Punk's interview with Ariel Helwani, there was a lot of times during that when I thought Punk really has grown up here, and he's a lot happier. WWE is a better fit for him. I'm glad he's still involved with wrestling. I still was. There was a there's a few moments when I was kind of disappointed if what everything he said was true about the way that everything went down in AEW. And he kind of took a few shots and he said it's not really a business and it's not really what he was bought in. The kind of impression that he got of the company, goals that they had and what they wanted to do wasn't really the case once he was there. So I was kind of disappointed as a big AEW fan to hear those words. But he also said that he did the responsible thing and choked out Jack Perry. So he kind of lost me there. I thought in a workplace environment, yes, it's pro wrestling. Yes, it's simulated fighting. Yes, it gets, heated backstage and fists get, fly occasionally. I can't really commend him for dealing with a situation with a co-worker by choking them out. So there was enough in that to leave me in a little bit of doubt as to whether Punk's side of the story was 100%. Always two sides to a story. And AEW seemed to be retaliating by saying, okay, Punk, you want to kind of slander us, you want to give the impression that something happened which it didn't, or you just want to put a series of events there which isn't strictly true. We'll put out the video footage of it. Apparently, Punk has questioned whether that is legal. Absolutely is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was one of his reaction. His reaction apparently was, "Is that legal? Can they do that?" They absolutely can. He was under contract to them at the time. It's their footage. It was on their show, so there's no kind of slur or kind of you know I don't know. They're not making out that something happened. They're not questioning. They're showing actually what happened.
Hmm.
It's not trolling from the Young Bucks. Apparently, it is
No.
legitimate. It is footage of what happened between Punk and Jack Perry. Now, I wouldn't have thought that AEW would be showing that unless it challenged Punk's side of events.
Hmm.
So it's going to be very, very interesting. I know we're here to talk about WrestleMania.
Hmm.
As you say, it does factor into the whole wrestling landscape.
Hmm.
which is fantastic at the minute. I mean, it has been for some time. We've spoken about it at length. We continue to do so. The last few years for wrestling fans has been sensational. WWE at the minute is absolutely on fire. I've really enjoyed this run into WrestleMania. As I say, there's some stuff on night one which I perhaps didn't like, but you're never going to like everything. I think as a whole, the wrestling landscape is brilliant. You get some really good storytelling in WWE. You get some really good action in AEW. I'm a fan of both. Um, but I'm certainly looking forward to seeing that footage on Wednesday night. Whether, there's going to be people that like, shall we just move on? Can't we just move on from this situation and forget about it? But as I say, if Punk's throwing out stuff that isn't strictly true,
Hmm.
then I suppose AEW are within the rights to respond.
They are. It's just whether or not then there's going to be the argument: is it edited? Do you know
Mm.
what I mean? So that they take. I don't know. That's
You
going
would
to be
think
the
it's got
argument.
to be
There's
pretty,
going to be a lot of it, isn't there?
yeah, you would say it's going to have to be pretty cut and dry for him to make this announcement. But you know, I like it, to be honest, because I don't think there's any real loser in it, because Punk will respond in some way.
Yeah.
You know, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. This isn't going to lead to him being sacked from
No.
WWE, or this isn't going to lose him any fans. Really, this will just perhaps, I don't know, help the overall battle, if you like, or competition, friendly competition. I don't know. I can't see it being a bad thing. As I say, it's creating buzz. I think there's going to be probably more people check out Dynamite than would have if it wasn't for this. So it
Yeah.
will give AW a little boost. And as I say, as you are, as I am, as a lot of people are, I think there's a lot of fans that just love both companies. They'll watch both. So we get into the tribalism, and there certainly is tribalism. There
Yeah.
certainly is WWE fans that don't want AEW to succeed, and vice versa. But there's going to be a huge portion of the hardcore wrestling fan base who were at WrestleMania, who were, at previous AEW pay-per-views, that will be at both, that enjoy both products for what they offer. So yeah, I'm very intrigued, and yeah, I think it's actually a good thing that AEW have done it in a weekend where really they don't stand a chance of competing. And I think the booking of Collision kind of uh, conceded that. That they create a little bit of buzz off the back of it, and a lot of people that are keeping their eyes on tabs, keeping the tabs on wrestling this weekend, watching a lot of podcasts, listening to a lot of podcasts, watching as much content as they can. For AW to slide that in there is actually a very shrewd business move, I would say.
Yeah, definitely so. Get eyes on their product certainly on Wednesday, but we're talking about Saturday night. And to quote a Collision phrase, it was all right for fighting. It was all right for WrestleMania Night 1. First match on the card: Rhea Ripley, Becky Lynch, Women's World Championship. Listen, these two are always going to tear it up. I think this is one of the matches that I didn't get right in my own prediction head that I had on. Normally we do predictions for pay-per-views. We didn't get around to doing it on this one. But it would have been one I would have got wrong. I thought Becky was going to win. Rhea wins. This does pose a question, though, Dave. I'll obviously get your thoughts on the match as well, but Becky's contract is coming up. Now, she didn't win this. There was a lot of build to way that the way it was built was like she was going to. So the fact that she lost, does that throw questions in the air about Becky's future as well? And of course, your thoughts on the match.
I loved this match. I absolutely loved it, and I thought the placement of it, having it open up the show, was a really good decision. I think Rhea Ripley's been unlucky in the past 2 years to have not main evented at least night one of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But when you've got The Rock on the show, you can't not, particularly as well, not just a little 6 second match like he had with Eric Rowan. I mean, not only did he have a match, but he had a 40-minute plus match. That was always going to main event. Um, but similar to what Bully Ray says, it's not just about the how you finish, it's about how you start a show as well.
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses, you got Welcome to the Jungle, and you finish with Sweet Child of Mine.
Yeah.
So I think this Welcome to the Jungle from Rhea and Becky was awesome. Loved the presentation, loved the entrance, loved Motionless in White playing Rhea to the ring. I really connect with Rhea as a fan. You know, Rhea's somebody that I kind of really look at and I'm a huge fan of. I love her image, I love her look, I love her attitude, I love her skills in the ring. I believe everything that she does. She's one of the best women wrestlers that has come along in a long time. You could stop. You don't need to necessarily have the word women in there. I think she's just a huge star for WWE, and this match didn't disappoint. I thought Rhea would win, but I wasn't by no means it wasn't a lock. I wasn't kind of if we did have done a prediction show, I'd have probably been about 60-40 Rhea. Um, I don't expect Becky to leave. I think she'll resign. I think she might have a bit of a break. Rhea did say in the press conference after that perhaps the door's open for another match and Becky might want another crack at her. She kind of smiled at her across the ring and I think teased that it may not be over. I don't think they'll go right back to it, but it wouldn't surprise me down the line if we get a rematch, which means I think Becky will be staying with the company. She's just had a book released, hasn't she?
Yeah.
It's been really, really successful, and it would really surprise me. I can't see it going anywhere else. I think it may have a lot to do with what her husband does, but I don't expect him to leave either. But I can see both of them, particularly after what I suspect will happen at night two in Seth's world title match. I could see both of them having a little bit of a break and spending a bit more time with their quality family time with their daughter.
Yeah, definitely. So it was it was a really good opening match, as you say. It was one I got wrong. I would have got it wrong in the predictions. Becky had strep throat as well, and 102-degree temperature and stuff like that leading up to it. Didn't affect the quality of the match. That's for sure. Um, Six-pack ladder match was next. Then we had Judgment Day was the unified tag team champions at that point. We had DXY, if you want to call it that way, for the entrance that they'd done. They had New Day, A-Town Down Under, New Catch Republic, and the Ocean Truth in a ladder match. So six-pack ladder match. Now, the difference with these ladder matches, you had to retain. Basically, it finished once both belts had been taken off the ladder. You didn't have to have the same people didn't have to do it. It was just
Yeah.
whoever grabbed the belts. It really was a good ladder match. Some crazy spots in it. Gargano done one. I mean, the DDT one of the ones that I remember was the Gargano DDT that he
That
done.
was on Pete Dunne, wasn't it?
It was on our good friend Pete Dunne. Yes. The A-Town Down Under grabbed this SmackDown championships. That was a bit of a surprise for me. I wasn't really that they've been doing pretty much nothing, and I suppose sometimes when you've been doing nothing, it's in the prologue to doing something. So them grabbing the titles was a bit of a surprise for me. Um, Awesome Truth getting the titles. I kind of felt like it was just a feel-good moment for Truth because he's given so much to the business. He's never had a WrestleMania moment. It was going to remind me, I think, of like potentially. Do you remember when Zack Ryder won the Intercontinental title and then he lost it on
Yeah.
Raw? It could even be dependent on what Priest decides to do with the Money in the Bank cash, and they could even lose it tonight on night two, back to the Judgment Day. But look, really good ladder match, two new champs, and I like the fact that we've got different championships, especially if they're going to go with separate brands.
Yeah, yeah. As you say, the SmackDown winners, if you like, Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, that was a surprise to me. But if I'm looking at tonight's show or night two, I'm expecting Logan Paul to retain, and they've looked like his lackeys. So if you've got tag team gold on them and Logan Paul retains his US title as well, then that establishes their little group a little bit more. I'm really glad that they've split the belts up and we've got two. I think it's hurt the tag team division
Mm.
a little bit just having unified champions. I think there was two world champions or a WWE champion, a world champion. You got two women's champions. I think you needed to split the tag belts up as well. And I think the fact that it could have been anybody that took those first titles down. I think that made the truth moment even better.
Yeah.
Because I think going in, a lot of people expected that Awesome Truth might triumph, but when that first opportunity went, you're thinking, well, are the Judgment Day going to retain one set of titles, and that was a way of splitting them. So I think that made that moment even better. And I like the fact that it was Truth as well that went up there and took the titles because we've saw him we've saw him as a comedy character for so long, and he does it so well, and he's so entertaining. Um, but he's given so much to the company, to the fans, to the WWE. So to never have a WrestleMania win, a WrestleMania moment, if you like, to be standing on top of that ladder taking those titles must have been, a pretty special thing. So as a long-term fan, really, really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the match. I thought there was some great bumps, some I think the JD McDonough's as well through the table
Yeah.
was awesome. How they integrated some other people into the match as well. Um, I think WrestleMania, and we're used to, back when they first launched Money in the Bank as a concept, it was a WrestleMania annual, you know, uh, a tradition, if you like. They established it as something that they did at WrestleMania every year, and then it branched off, and they had their own pay-per-view. And I think that was a disappointment at the time that we weren't getting a multi-man ladder match on WrestleMania. I think it's certainly if you've got 2 nights, I think on each night you should have one of these type of matches, which is a bit of a free for all. You've got some ladders, you've got some tables. I think we've got a bit of a street fight, haven't we?
Yes.
Philadelphia Street Fight on night two, so that will be that version of the match on night two. So I'm hoping that the ladder match, can stay as an annual occasion and something that's done every year. And I thought it really worked well with the 6 tag teams as well. It got a lot more people on the card, but it didn't just feel like a battle royal or like a filler. That they all kind of brought something to the match. Some great talent on show. Really, really pleased for Pete Dunne and for Tyler Bate, being from this part of the world as well. That's up the road for me, as I've mentioned in the past. So to see those guys on the big stage getting an opportunity at WrestleMania 40, love that as well. But I really enjoyed this match.
Yeah, that was a really good match. You mentioned about the titles and then being separated, and just on a side note, because we just finished a women's match, NXT announced the North American Women's Championship, so a second championship for the women. The WWE haven't quite done that yet. I mean, obviously on AEW you've got TBS TNT, you've got the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships, but do you think that perhaps a US or an Intercontinental Women's Championship should be made available, or should be brought out by WWE?
Quite possibly, yeah. I mean, I heard Triple H in the press conference, and he was actually talking about the placement of matches and main eventing and whatever. And he said he doesn't really see men and women or anything like that. They're just there on merit. But I think historically, the women haven't had the opportunity, and you can't get away from it. It's like when you talk about um, black performers in wrestling at times, black performers haven't had the same opportunities that white. You
Yeah.
can't like reinvent history and say it hasn't happened. There has been challenge, so I think there should be more of a concerted effort to try harder with the women's division, for example. Um, and I think the creation of more titles and kind of mid-card titles, if they've got them for the men, why wouldn't they have them for the women? So yeah, moving into equality and giving the ladies the same opportunity that the men have been afforded since the start of time, really, in terms of pro wrestling, then yeah, I think that's a conversation that's absolutely worth having. You have to be careful because we've seen in AEW at times that too many titles can water the product down as such, or the titles lose their importance. Um, in saying that, what they've done with Julia Hart and the TBS title has been really good. And prior to that, it was Jade Cargill and Chris Statlander. So I think that has proven that there should be some more titles available across all the divisions. So yeah, I think the North American title in NXT for the women is a good idea, and I think discussions again about subsequent titles is a good idea.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. New era, obviously WWE WrestleMania 40. Every 10 years, you kind of a new era hits it. Next match, next match. We were talking off air, and we sort of said some of these matches weren't WrestleMania matches, and I think this bodes into this one. Mysterio and Andrade, Santos and Dominic. I mean, this got made. I think Dominic interfered in Ray's match like 2 weeks ago. Kind of aligned himself with Santos on SmackDown. They were trying to bring Andrade to the Judgment Day recently as well on Raw. Andrade this time turns on them, joins Rey Mysterio and wins. I think with help of some of the Philadelphia players. I think it was some NFL players who was in luchador masks. I didn't see the need. If it was Ray and Dominic from a rematch from last year with Ray's retirement or something on the line, I could have understood that. I just think this was just thrown together and just added for the sake of adding a match.
Yeah, and similar to I want keep labouring the same points, but what I was saying about the women and about black performers, you've got a similar sentiment with Latin American performers as well, and not not featuring as prominently as perhaps they should. Certain performers break through and get opportunity, but as a whole, for the amount of Latin American wrestlers there are and being involved with the WWE, we haven't seen them in the prominent spots at time. So giving them a WrestleMania match, the LWO, I do kind of see why they would want to do that. In saying that, totally agree with your point. It didn't really feel like a WrestleMania level match. There has been story that I think that is all the matches have had story, haven't they?
Mm.
Depending on how much story and how good the stories are. They've all had a story and they've all had involvement and multiple people and factions involved. Um, the match was fine. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Andrade jumping off the apron with Rey Mysterio on his shoulders and doing like a double crossbody. Don't recall seeing that spot
Mm.
before. I thought that was really, really cool. And you also had the moment with I want to say Zema Iron, but I know that's not his name. What's the guy in LWO? Hakeem, is it?
There's a Whacking Wild, yeah.
Him, yeah, he was Zema Iron previously, wasn't he? His launch off the ropes, it was like the assisted launch. I thought that was pretty cool as well. So, as a match, I thought it was good, but yeah, I could see why people would criticism its placement on the card or its inclusion on the card. Whether we see something more from Rey Mysterio and Dominic seems to be that will rumble on, and that may well lead to that retirement match that you mentioned. So maybe it's just a way of keeping that ticking over for another year.
Could be. We will wait and see. The next one on this, the story was there. Jimmy versus Jay. It's had a story. It's had a great story. They had a lot of hype. This potentially could have main evented, obviously for obvious reasons it didn't. For me, this was. I mean, who the fuck come out with Jay? Was that Wiley was rapping or someone Wiz or whatever his name was rapping Jay out? I mean,
Yeah,
Christ Almighty, I could have done better
not
myself.
really my scene.
Well, don't ever have him again. I could have done better myself, and but this match itself had it had the story, it had everything, and for me, it didn't deliver anything. For me, I was really surprised. I was really surprised at the fact I didn't like the match, and the match for me didn't deliver because I thought we had everything there, all the elements were there, but Jimmy and Jay, much like other brother v brother matches I've seen at WrestleMania, Matt and Jeff had one as well. I don't know why it just didn't work for me.
No, I can't imagine this is the match that they've put together, their whole life, thinking that one day they would have this one-on-one singles match at a stage like WrestleMania, and this would be the way it went down. I've heard a lot of. I haven't really heard anybody or any positive comments about it. I think the fact that Jay won was a given, really. I don't think we expected anything
No.
different, and maybe that hurt it a little bit. But yeah, we really expected a bit of a perhaps match of the night contender. And I think rather than that, we got probably the worst match of the night contender. Unfortunately, I don't like saying that. Huge fan, particularly of Jey Uso. Um, just felt a little bit off. I think Jason Jordan was the producer for the match, so whether he had a different vision for it than the performers, don't know. Not blaming him as such, but from what I hear, he produced the match, and it just wasn't what we expected. Perhaps the result was. Um, I think it was interesting at the start that Pat McAfee wasn't on the desk doing the yeet, because I think there was plans for that announced desk later on in the night. So I think that was a bit of foreshadowing. And I
I think
thought,
he
yeah,
was on his knees doing it.
yeah. But I just noticed he wasn't standing on the table, so that made me think
Yeah.
there's plans for that table, which we'll get to. Um, but yeah, I'm a big fan of Jay. I think he's brilliant as main event Jey Uso, and I think they needed to have this match And maybe we expected too much. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see to hear your thoughts on it, mate.
It just didn't connect for like as I said, it's the match that had everything there. The elements were there. It was a big thing, and I don't know. It just didn't hit the notes.
Should Solo have been involved? I didn't see. I think he faced Jay on SmackDown, didn't he? I'm assuming Jay won
Yeah, he
that.
did. It was a DQ finish. Solo's lost 37, 37. He's 0 for 37 since beating John Cena. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So he's really gone off the boil a little bit. I don't know. I don't think he needed Solo. I don't know what it is. But then I've had this thing. I saw Matt versus Jeff at 25 and hated it as well. I wasn't a
Yeah.
fan of that. I don't know if they work or what the issue is, or for
We've had
me,
some fictional brother stuff that's worked. I think Edge and Christian, and also Kane and
Kane and the
Undertaker.
Undertaker works. Yeah.
Yeah, but when it comes to actual brothers, Brett and Owen,
Legitimate brothers don't work.
no, Brett and Owen, I think going back. I mean, I haven't watched
Perfect.
the match for
Yeah.
a long time, but it's kind of gone down in wrestling folklore as one that did. But maybe that was because it was the first time that we'd seen a brother versus brother. And yeah, the other two, if you include Matt and Jeff, and this one has failed to live up to the expectations that we had for it, unfortunately. And we've been talking about that potential match for a long time, haven't we? I
Yeah.
mean, I want to say going back 12 months, if
Probably.
not longer. And as you say, Jay and Jimmy, from all reports, it's something that they've always wanted as well. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it'd be interesting if they do speak about it, or what their thoughts on it were. Because again, I haven't seen many positive things about it, but there was a lot of other good stuff on the show. So yeah,
Yeah.
maybe
I mean, was it maybe they'll have another match and it'll blow us out of the way. Sometimes
yeah,
it takes a couple of matches just to,
they've got the talent and
yeah,
think they've got the chemistry and that. But yeah, for whatever reason, it just didn't connect.
definitely not. Unfortunately, disappointing. Next match was the six women match. So this was Jade Cargill's first official match. I mean, she got everything. And the WWE have built her up already. I mean, she was, I think I saw her on SmackDown. It might have been last night or Friday or the week before. She was being out of the three, considering Bianca Belair and what she's done in WWE. She was the one that come out last, which is I think she come out last even on this one. Or they come down together, didn't they? And then the
Yeah,
music played. Um, so yeah, this was Jade Cargill's first match. She's already, WWE know what to do with her already in terms of production, presentation. She already looks $1 million in that. Kind of against Damage Control. This was again, you mentioned this, and we have already mentioned this. Was this a WrestleMania match? Probably not. It was Jade Cargill, I think, done fine. I thought the match was fine, but this is WrestleMania that we're talking about, and it's great that the women got on the card, and it was great that we saw, obviously say Rhea and that start off. This just didn't. I just didn't think needed to be there, but it was just a way of getting them on the card. I think.
yeah, I agree. And you've got 8 hours to fill over 2 nights, so
Yeah.
there are going to be a few of those matches. I think if WrestleMania was one night, this match and the LWO match, neither would be on the pay-per-view. But as you say, it was fine. Jade Cargill, now she's competed at Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. That's not a bad way to start in the company.
So,
Uh, she looks phenomenal she looks in even better shape than she was, previously in AEW. And, she looks like a superhero. I heard someone say that she doesn't look like a superhero. Superheroes look like Jade Cargill, which I thought, that's pretty spot on, to be honest. Um, again, the presentation, everything was great. Be interesting what they do off the back of this, whether they keep them together as a trio, or whether they go it alone now. I think I'd be tempted to keep them as a trio for a while,
yeah.
and build off that in the future. You've got some great matches there and great potential. I think Bianca against Jade one day will be a great match, and one that a lot of us would like to see. But I think in the short term, keeping those together, Jade is still fairly green,
Mhm.
as a pro wrestler. She's had a good amount of matches now, but a lot of those matches were squash matches, and she obviously spent time in the performance center and becoming a WWE superstar rather than a pro wrestler as she was previously. So that will take time, and I think under the guidance of Naomi and Bianca, I think that's a great place for Jade to a great learning tree to sit under. So yeah, and there's some we spoke about this as well about women having more tag matches and
Yeah.
trios matches, and that landscape exists in the WWE with the women's tag titles and with the likes of Damage Control. So yeah, it makes sense. But as you say, perhaps not a WrestleMania presentation, 100%, but whether it was really a WrestleMania level match. It was announced quite late, wasn't it? I think it was only made last week, like you
2 week,
said.
yeah, literally a week or two ago. Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't hate it. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think I agree though. I certainly would have Jade under tutelage, maybe with Bianca for a while. You mentioned there that she was still green, and she is still green. Let's be real about it. She's got a bit of a way to go. So, and then it kind of limits the weakness if she's only coming in, doing a few moves, hitting a finish, and done. It's a good way of bringing her up and having her. It's a bit like what they I was just going to say, who is it like? It's a bit like what you would normally do, really. What you should do. What they didn't do, that was it. What they didn't do with Goldberg, what they done with Goldberg was exposed his weakness when they come in, which was
Yes.
you couldn't do anything over 10 minutes. And they put him in a 25-minute match with Triple H and killed his career. Eventually after beating The Rock. But yeah, it's what they need to do is keep her with Bianca, Naomi, keep them in those sort of mixed multi-person, well, not multi-person, yeah, multi-person matches. And just until they're ready for her to
Yeah, yeah,
off.
I totally agree. Hide any kind of weaknesses, which is easily done in those type of matches, and accentuate the positives and show us what the things she's really good at, such as the finish of the match. I thought that
Yeah.
was a great finish, great to hit the jaded. Not sure if she's still calling it jaded.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I enjoy so much about Jade and her presentation and the potential. I think they're doing a really good job so far, how they brought her in, and I hope they continue that as I say, for the short term, because I think in the long term it will really pay off.
Yeah, definitely so. Um, Gunter was next with Sami Zayn. Okay, so we may disagree on this. I don't know. Match quality was never going to be in doubt. And it delivered. There was an amazing brain, but a lot of people were saying the brain buster looked dangerous or botched. I don't think it did. I thought it was El Generico's move, right? He done used to do that as
El Generico, yeah.
El
So
Generico, yeah.
when I saw it, because obviously Will Ospreay and Takeshita did a similar spot
Yeah.
recently, and I thought maybe it was inspired from that. But yeah, like you say, when he was competing as El Generico before his time in WWE, that was one of his signature moves.
Mhm.
I was glad it wasn't used as the finish as such, because I think he kind of pulled it out up for a special occasion.
Yeah.
Um, and it was the exact right time to deploy it. But I don't think it looked dangerous at all. I thought it
No.
looked pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, it did. I thought it looked great. My issue with this is I I don't understand the reasoning why Sami Zayn is the one. I mean, let's beat around the bush. Sami Zayn defeats Gunter, ends the near 2 year reign of the
Yeah.
Ring General as champion.
666 days.
There you go, 666, bad omen for Gunter. I get it. Now, Triple H did come out in the press conference, said Brock Lesnar was scheduled for the Rumble, that plans had changed, and he's still a part of WWE apparently. So we kind of know that it was meant to be Lesnar against Gunter.
Yeah.
For me, Sami Zayn being in this match, and they done the underdog, and I knew from the moment they done the entrance, I knew that Sami. I mean, to be honest, I knew Sami was going to win before that, but I if you didn't know, when those entrances and he was seeing his wife, his kids, and he saw KO, I just sat there and always like, we've won this. It's just a matter of how.
Mm.
I don't think he was the right man to do it. I would have all day given Gable this opportunity. Sami Zayn's had his opportunity. He's won three. This was his fourth reign as Intercontinental Champion. He's won multiple tag team champions. I think he's even been US champion. Chad Gable has not had the opportunity. He's had a lot of matches with Gunter, don't get me wrong, and he's lost them. But if you were going to do this whole Rocky Balboa story, which they're doing, and they're doing it again, when we'll get into that later, for me, it needed to be Gable.
Yeah, so this was the prediction that I got wrong. I think I called every other resort on, which isn't necessarily a bad thing,
No.
because everything on the card made sense and all the results made sense. So even though I predicted them, I'm not kind of criticizing it for being predictable. But this one I got wrong. I thought Gunther would retain. I didn't think Sami Zayn would be the one to dethrone him. as you say, there were a few clues there with the
Yeah.
entrance. And yeah, in hindsight, you could see what they were doing, and it was the underdog from what did they call him when he first came in?
Well, he used to be called the underdog from the underground, didn't he? I don't know.
That's the underdog
Yeah.
from the underground. So it was a bit of a hark back to those days. What I would have liked here, but I don't know if this is just me, I would have liked on the conclusion of the match, and he did get the upset victory for Imperium to take him out, and then Damian Priest music hits, and we all expect Damian Priest to kind of go after the world title or the WWE title at some point, send your money in the bank. But I thought, the vision of Damian Priest defeating Sami Zayn after he's just to overcome this huge, monster of a man and somebody that's had the title for so long with his wife at ringside. I thought that was a perfect opportunity to get Damian Priest some real heat, and it would have been a bit more impactful. So that's what I would have preferred. I suppose Gunther's reign had to end at some point,
Yeah.
and once the show has finished and we know who's holding the WWE title, that might play into Gunther's future. Are we going to be seeing Gunther Cody, which is what we've kind of going back to last year's Royal Rumble was something that we thought we were going to get at some point. Um, is Gable going to go on there and want an opportunity at Sammy because he's helped Sammy train for the Gunther match? So the success of Sammy, you could attribute that to Gable.
Yeah.
So I suppose we need to wait and see what comes after it. If Gunther is now elevated to the main event scene, then I don't hate it. If if he's not, and he ultimately regains the title in a couple of weeks, then I would be a little bit more critical of it and say it didn't really need to happen. But it remains to be seen. But as you say, the match was good. It was always going to be. You get those two performers in there. It was always going to be great. But yeah, a little bit kind of underwhelmed how it finished, given what I thought they could have done with it. But again, not too down on it.
No, I think it's a guarantee that Gunther will be in the main event mix at some point.
Yeah.
They may do a rematch or something like that, as they normally do. But I think Gunther was there. You mentioned the Damian Priest thing. I would love that tonight, and I'll go into it later. Why I would like it, to, just because I'll go into it. We'll get into that in a bit and shortly. Main event: Rock, Roman, Cody, and Seth. Now again, they kind of again gave the way for me the result of this because when they said, I think when The Rock come out and said, if we win this, it's bloodline rules. If you win this, it's just you and Roman. I kind of had a inkling that Cody would lose the match. I had a feeling that Cody would take the pinfall, and I had a feeling that Rock would pin Cody, which is exactly what happened in the match. In terms of the matchup, I thought it was great, great story, great moments. As you mentioned, they had a rock bottom through the table, which we hadn't seen in a while. Um, there was a double pedigree during it as well, which there was a double kick out for. So there was a really good storytelling which you would accomplish with these four in there. The Rock looked great. He didn't look like he didn't miss a step. It was great seeing some of those nostalgic moves that we saw. Um, and ultimately does set up so the odds are even further stacked against Cody a bit later on. There was just a couple of things that I would say. They went on the one that match, so it doesn't really matter. But there was a bit where The Rock basically said to the referee, "You don't fucking count, or I'll fire you," and stuff and things like that. The only thing that logically for me at that point was when The Rock put him in the sharpshooter, why didn't he tell the ref to ring the bell? It would, seeing the power, that having that way of winning the match. But nevertheless, look, it was a good way to win main event. It stacks the deck against Cody, so we're kind of anticipating we know where that go. But I'll throw a few theories out there when we do our predictions in a minute. The entrance of The Rock was amazing. I'm sure Cody's going to get a massive entrance tonight when he does. I'm sure Seth will also get a big one. But it was great to see. Great story, great main event. Good way to finish and set up night two.
I really enjoyed this match, this main event. It started off a bit slow.
Yeah,
Again, entrances were great. I love the Rock's entrance with the flaming Brahma bull.
yeah.
Uh, if I'm and I'll put you on the spot here because I don't even know if your son watched it, but like if there's a lot of fans who watch The Rock during his heyday, during the Attitude Era, even like his corporation days, which there's certainly elements of
Yeah,
that in his current presentation. To see him doing what he did then and now growing up and got kids of a similar age to what we were during those days, to see The Rock doing what he did so well. Not just, like I said earlier, not just having a 6 second match, not just playing the hits, having a full, 40 plus minute match. I know it's a tag match and he wasn't in
yeah,
there for that, but he more than played his part in this. I mean, he took a huge bump through the announce table, which,
yeah.
as I said, I expected at some point that the English speaking announce desk would come into play. Not the Spanish one for a change, as we say, a new era in WWE. So it wasn't the Spanish announce table that took the abuse, but Rock took a rock bottom from Cody through that, which, looked awesome as well. To see The Rock doing it at this level, still in his 50s now, I mean, it was a treat for everybody there, a treat for everybody watching at home. I think that it's been a smash hit. This pivot that they did
Yeah.
when they realized that the Rock Roman match wasn't the match that the fans really wanted, and they wanted to see Cody finish the story. And they changed the direction on it. I think they've done some really, really good, entertaining stuff. And this tag match was pretty perfect, to be honest. With the way that it ended, with The Rock picking up the win, that could play. I mean, is he Cody's final boss or is he Roman's final boss? There's that
Roman
question.
did spear him as well during that
Roman
match.
speared him. You had the little look as well, a couple of times when Rock wanted tagging in. Um, there was enough like little small like seeds there that they could plant for a bit of dissension between the two. The plan was always to do that singles match.
Yeah.
That singles match has never needed the title and it doesn't need the title. So
No.
does it mean Cody wins and they can do that? Does that mean if Cody wins, how's The Rock going to react to that when Roman's kind of standing there and Paul Heyman's standing there? Does he say that? Does he denounce Roman Reigns as the tribal chief? There's that. He could ultimately as well see The Rock helping Roman to retain. He spoke in the press conference of some surprises. Um, People are talking about Tamatonga and Jacob Fatu coming in and new members of the bloodline. Um, the surprises might not be members of the bloodline. It could be
No.
people that are coming out to help Cody or to rally against the bloodline. So it's really, really set up a fascinating main event or night two of WrestleMania. I don't know which way they're going to go. I would have said from the start that the right thing to do would be for Cody to win the title. That's what I thought should have happened last year. That's what I think should happen this year. But I've got some doubts again. I can't say that I'm 100% now. In the past, you would always suggest that Cody losing on the first night would mean he's going to win on the second night.
Mhm.
But we don't do things the way that they've always done things. They have changed the way they do things.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, fascinating, and I'll be looking forward to checking the main event out and seeing how it all plays out.
Few theories that I've got, 'cause we're going to get to night two.
Yeah,
There's obviously the potential that he does finish the story and still doesn't walk out as world champion.
yeah,
Imagine the heat on that. Priest comes in.
yeah. And see, as I haven't been watching week in week out, and Priest has obviously been involved with the Judgment Day and the tag division. I don't know whether they've heated Priest up enough to
Hmm.
pull that off. It would be something pretty amazing, and for Cody to still have that look of failure, uh, after finishing the story, to then not be walking out with the championship.
Mhm.
Um, but I suppose if he wins the championship, even if it is the shortest reign in history, he's still won the championship.
Yeah.
So it's something that can't be ignored. As I say, I don't necessarily expect that to happen,
No.
but there's so many ways they can go with this, and I don't think I'd be disappointed with any of them. I think The Rock may be sticking around he's definitely sticking around in terms of his involvement in the WWE.
Yeah.
He's a director, he's on the board. Um, but it doesn't look like his time in the ring is going to be over anytime soon. I know he's off to record a film, I think,
Yeah.
um, in the next few weeks, but I certainly think by SummerSlam he'll be back and potentially in a featured match, be that against Cody. He's got he's got grounds to challenge Cody if Cody is the champion, given the fact that he picked up the victory over him. He hit the people's elbow and he scored the pin. There would also be an argument if Roman does lose that The Rock beat Cody and Roman couldn't, so he's the head of the table. There's a number of things they can do with it. When you've got people like Triple H, when you've got Paul Heyman, when you've got Roman Reigns, when you've got Cody Rhodes, it's going to lead to some really, really fun stuff, interesting stuff, good matches, better stories. Yeah, it's a great end tonight one. I spoke to you earlier this morning. I think I was probably focusing on some of the things I didn't like on reflection and digesting the show. I'm probably about a 7 out of 10 as a whole for WrestleMania at the minute. I would hope that on the conclusion of night two, I'll be up there at the 8 and 9 out of 10. But a huge part of that will be as to how this Bloodline story plays out. It's been such a feature of WWE over the past 3 or 4 years. Will we get the perfect ending, or are we just getting started on a new era of the Bloodline?
Who knows? I mean, I was going to give it a six, and I gave night one a 6.5. It just didn't do enough for me. There's also another theory that I've got before we
Yeah.
give our predictions is that the man that the man that will cost Cody is the man that Cody brought back into WWE when he had left, which is Jey Uso.
Mhm.
So there's that, and it was a play, and it was a ruse in the bloodline all along.
Yeah, there's definitely my kind of argument to that would be how popular Jay has become on his own.
Yeah.
For me, when I look at him, he is a bona fide single star now.
Yeah.
Can't say the same for Jimmy, but
No.
I certainly think Jay has done that as main event Jey Uso. So I think pulling him back into the bloodline would be a disappointment for me. There's been other theories online that we might be seeing the likes of John Cena, we might be seeing the likes of Stone Cold, we might be seeing people that the bloodline have screwed over
Yeah.
the past few years kind of unite. Even the likes of Drew McIntyre, who may well be the new world champion by that point, coming out to help Cody. Or not just to help Cody, to just negate the bloodline and make it more of a one-on-one. But we've got bloodline rules now, so the odds are stacked against him. I think they did a really good thing, like you said about The Rock using his power to
Yeah.
make basically the tag match a no rules match. You could criticize that, and I would understand people that did. We're like, well, what's the point in having a match for a Bloodlines rule match if it was going to be a Bloodlines rule match anyway?
Yeah.
That The Rock, it was such a visual thing, and we heard what The Rock said to the ref. Um, yeah, I quite enjoyed that, to be honest. But yeah, I've gone from thinking similar to last year that there was no way that the WrestleMania was going to end without Cody holding the title up, to enough doubt now to think that perhaps Roman Reigns' reign isn't over.
The beauty of wrestling as it's been booked correctly. But let's get to night two. Let's do it. Let's decide who's going to walk out. Not. You mentioned you were going to go for Logan Paul, right, to retain the US title.
Yeah, and I think the fact that Grayson Waller and Austin Theory picked up those tag titles is a huge part of that, which I thought that would be the case before. I think we might see a bit of a flare up between Kevin and Randy. We've seen a bit of, you know, Kevin's kind of been in awe of Randy Orton, and we've seen a lot of that playing out. I think we could see Kevin really turn on Randy Orton, and that could be the story coming out of that situation. But I think Logan Paul retains the belt.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for that as well. Is it Bailey's time to win the women's championship from Io Sky?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Out of the four horsewomen, Bailey's the one that perhaps hasn't got as many of the singles moments. She's had plenty. She's had reigns, and she's done great. But I think she's due her big moment on the biggest stage of them all, which is at WrestleMania, and I think she'll be winning that one.
Yep, I do agree with you on that as well. So Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk on commentary. What do you think?
I think Drew wins, and I think the fact that Seth was nursing that knee injury,
Yeah.
in the tag match was a good way of doing it as well. Seth's going in not at 100%. He, I believe, is that his first match back since the injury, the tag match. Has he been in action on
He
Raw?
has. I don't know about Raw. I can't remember. He's
Yeah.
definitely had some house show matches.
Okay. Yeah, but he hasn't had too many, has he? Certainly not on television.
No.
Uh, and the fact that he's got that injury, I think that will play into the match. And I think McIntyre's been booked really strongly. I think a big part of that will be as to Drew's future and as has he signed a new contract? Reports suggest that at the minute he hasn't, but then we've just learned that Clash at the Castle this year will return and it will be in Scotland. And you would be
Yeah.
absolutely shocked if Drew wasn't on that card and if he wasn't either going in or challenging for a title. So I believe he'll be winning the title here, and I think he'll still be holding on to it when we get around to Clash at the Castle, which is it June?
June 15th.
Yeah, so I expect that to happen. And as I mentioned earlier with Becky Lynch, I think both Beck and Seth and Becky are due a little bit of time off.
Yeah.
Seth picked up that injury a few months ago and he was a doubt for WrestleMania from the get-go. He was ultimately going to be facing Punk from what we hear, from what we believe. But it was Punk's injury that actually ruled that match out, not Seth's. So I think he'll get through this and he'll have some much deserved time off. And I think Drew McIntyre, what he's been doing recently, has been great. Not just
Yeah.
on TV, on social media. Really, really enjoying this run. He seems like reinvigorated, revitalized. Been so impressed with him over the past few years, to be honest. But there has been times when you've kind of questioned whether he was going to be staying with the company. We didn't see him for a while after that triple threat last year against Sheamus and Gunther. But he's doing some of his best work at the minute, and I think he'll be staying with WWE, and I think he's your next world champion.
I hope so. I hope he wins it. Punk on commentary. I don't know. I'm not sure. Something. I think something's going to go down there. I don't know what yet, but we will see. LA Knight, AJ Styles.
Best in the ring, best on that microphone, and best on commentary, as he
We'll
famously said.
we'll see. LA Knight, AJ Styles. For me, doesn't belong on the card.
No.
Um, I'm gonna say Knight because I think they fucked him royally with when they had the opportunity. I'm not saying he should have defeated Roman Reigns. I'm not put when he was hot, put a title on him.
Yeah, and I think the
Main
US
title.
title, yeah, the US title would have been the perhaps choice of title, but I can't really knock Logan Paul. I'm
Uh,
enjoying I enjoy seeing Logan Paul, and I'd be disappointed if he lost the title. So, but I agree with what you said with LA Knight. Also, the fact that The Rock has been back, that has kind of shot them in the foot with LA
yeah,
Knight because there are similarities, obviously. LA Knight, the way he kind of conducts himself, to talk, his look, his
yeah,
swagger, it is a bit of a hybrid Stone Cold Rock. You can see he was a big fan of the Attitude Era and where he drew inspiration from. So unfortunately for LA Knight, that has kind of meant that he's been cooled off a little by the company. I expect him to win this match, but as you say, does it really belong on a WrestleMania card? I'm not so sure. I'm sure it'll be a good match though. AJ doesn't have many bad matches. Um, but if AJ loses this, then you kind of question his future as well and what they do with him. So yeah, it's a way it could go either way, arguably, but I would like to think that LA Knight will at least get his big WrestleMania win, given the fact that he's not wearing a championship title at the minute.
yeah. Totally agree with that as well. Lashley and the Street Profits versus the Final Testament, Karrion Cross and the Authors of Pain in a Philly street fight. I can't think of anything other than the faces that come out on Street Profits and Lashley days.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's probably the right call. I'm a fan of Karrion Cross.
Mm.
I thought the introduction of the Authors of Pain um, would really help him. I haven't seen. It's not as if, as I say, I've been watching every week, but I don't think the crowd is too invested in the faction. I'm not sure. You'll tell me better. I'm not sure how well that's landed. Um, Definitely seems very mid card to me, which is a
Mhm.
shame because I thought Karrion Kross had really real good potential to be a top star in the company, given what he did in NXT. Unless the Street Profits were to turn on Lashley or something like that, I would expect the faces to win here. So I'm going to agree with your prediction and go with Lashley and the Street Profits.
Yeah, again, I think with The Rock coming back as well, it's hindered it. It has hindered it to a sense. You say LA Knight, it's hindered a little bit this, in my opinion, as well, just
Yeah.
because, obviously it's The Rock and you have to, not say bow down, but the guy's coming back, so it's an opportunity for them to get eyes on the Roman bits, add another element to Roman's storyline. So I think, from my opinion, it's kind of hindered that a little bit. But yeah, faces for me on there.
You can't really kind of criticize anything the WWE are doing at the minute because they've been so successful. They're making so much money. The eyes are on the product, not just the eyes are on the product, the sponsors that they've got involved as well.
Mhm.
They've definitely changed the way that they incorporate the sponsors into the shows as well. We saw that with like the Prime
Yeah,
Soy, and we had the sponsorship in the ring. But I would much rather that than have kind of a Mountain Dew lights out match or a zombie match that they did, and that type of stuff. I think that actually hurts the product
yeah,
um, for the sake of shoehorning a sponsor in. So I think the subtle ways of doing it, like the Snickers adverts as well in
yeah,
between matches, I think that was a much kind of better way of doing it. Um, but as you say, when you've got the likes of The Rock, other people do take a back seat. You got Andrade, huge Andrade fan, loved him in
yeah,
age. He was really disappointed when he left. Totally understand why he would, and the fact that his wife Charlotte's in WWE. But so far, I would say his running back in WWE has been a little bit underwhelming. But there's only so many spaces at the top of the card, so I think the likes of Andrade, the likes of Karrion Kross, the likes of Lashley, they've got to be, I don't know, patient. Is that fair?
yeah.
The fact the Rock's not going to be there week in, week out, but he's done
Exactly.
so much to help the company, help the business, you know, ultimately line their pockets in a sense. The more successful the company is, the more money the performers make, surely,
Yeah,
regardless of their involvement. You would think. So, yeah, there's a few ways of looking at it. I'm sure like there's a bit of disappointment there, but I hope they would use that to inspire them and not to kind of um sulk. That's not fair, but not use it as a negative, but use it as a positive and kind of help it to drive them forward.
yeah. No, totally agree on that. Right, I'm going to put you on the spot now, Dave.
Yeah.
Roman, Cody, does he finish the story? Yes or no?
Yes, I think Cody wins. I think Cody wins, and I have to say that I've given not abuse, but I've said since WrestleMania 39, I thought it was a mistake that Cody didn't walk out with a championship. But I would like to kind of admit or confess, I think Cody definitely feels like a bigger star at WrestleMania 40 than he did at 39. I thought he was a huge star then. I didn't think he could be much more popular, but I think he is. I think he is a bigger star. I think he's more popular. I think fans are more invested. I think fans are more invested in the story. I think it would be a bigger moment for him to win at 40 than it would have been if he'd have won at 39. I say enough kind of doubt has been planted, which I really, really like that. I like that. You might have a different opinion. You might think Cody's going to win and that's it. And a lot of wrestling fans out there may just be expecting that, and that's what happens. But for me personally, there's enough doubt. There is a version of this story that continues with Roman Reigns still as the WWE undisputed Universal Champion. Um, it wouldn't be as shocking. I would be disappointed again. I think the likes of Dave LaGreca and a lot of Cody Crybabies would be up in arms. But I think if it's done right and the story's good, as the last year has proved, that kind of wrestling fans will kind of go along with it. I think enough WWE has built up now enough goodwill. I think the Triple H era is well and truly underway, and I think we're all enjoying it and having a lot of fun with it. So if that's the decision that's made and Cody loses again, and maybe he has to beat The Rock, who beat him on night one, in order to earn an opportunity at Roman again. I wouldn't hate it. I'd certainly be intrigued. I wouldn't be cancelling my network subscription or turning off the product. So, but to answer your question, I do expect Cody to finish the story, and I believe WrestleMania 40 will close with the fireworks, with the confetti, with Brandy in the ring, perhaps Liberty in the ring, even the dog might be in the ring, and Cody will be celebrating the biggest win of his career.
Yeah. I so I don't want him to, but I think he will.
Yeah,
And I don't want him to because I'm one of those fans that when the Rock and Roman didn't need a title. The Rock and Roman could have gone on night one as for the head
yeah,
of the table match, and this could have gone on night two. The fact of the matter is, when the fans changed it for their complaints and stuff like that, I don't agree with that. I know that with Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, sorry, and he got him and he won his title, and the way I see it is the fans that complained about The Rock and Roman are the same fans that wanted that match 2 years ago before Cody didn't finish the story. That's how my
yeah,
argument to it. So I don't want him to, but I think I agree with you. I agree. I think that he will somehow. I can see it being a lot of replays of last year. I can even see Solo hitting the spike and this time Cody kicking out at 2.9 or whatever, that sort of thing. I can see that happening. And I think it's gonna be weird because I'm gonna watch WrestleMania from main event first, and then
yeah.
I
I
can
think I'll be
watch the
doing the
rest of the
same.
show. I can't not watch that. If I can only get to watch one match before work tomorrow, I'm gonna want it to be that
Yeah,
match before anything else. So I'll be watching. I'll be coming off of socials. I'll be watching the main event first of
yeah.
WrestleMania, and then.
If I didn't work for myself, I'd be calling in sick, I think. But I'm not going to be able to let that fly. But I think there will be some callbacks,
Yeah,
not just to last year's match, to the whole story. I think it will be quite like overbooked.
yeah,
But I'm all for that. Just bring it on. Give us everything. Give us like the Avengers Endgame finale. We'll have different members. It's bloodline rules, so they have to. It's not just
yeah.
going to be a one-on-one straight match.
Right.
The stipulation is there to allow for some chaos, and I'm all for that. Whether there'll be some rubber chickens thrown into the ring at the end, as I was like the end of last year, remains to be seen. But I do think it's time to put that belt on. I think there's like a sweet spot, and I thought it was last year, but I'm convinced this year that this is the time to kind of get behind Cody. And there's so many there's so many people in WWE that have had the title when perhaps they shouldn't, and there's so many people that should have had the title and never did. I think they run the risk of with Cody of missing that perfect moment when it means the most. He's white hot as a babyface. He's a throwback in many ways. When in a time in wrestling where there's not too many defined faces and heel. There's a lot of tweeners. There's a lot of people. Rhea Ripley's a perfect example. On paper, she's a heel,
Yeah.
but the reactions she gets and her popularity, you could say that she's a face. But you don't need to change the character or do anything. But with Cody, he's a pure white meat baby face, and for him to end WrestleMania and have all the fanfare and the fireworks and the celebration, I think it's the time to do it. I fear that if they don't do it, they will have missed the boat, and they'll never get that moment back. But I said exactly the same after the end of last year. So let's wait and see. I think I'll be doing the same as you. I'll be watching the main event first, and hopefully at some point tomorrow we'll have an opportunity to catch up and talk over night two as well as what we've done with night one. Really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope so for sure. We've got a few interviews this week. I've got a late one tomorrow. I've got an interview with NWA's Mecca Walk. Seems to be a lot of NWA interviews coming on at the moment, which I'm really, me and Fiona are really enjoying the spotlight of NWA. So we got Mecca Wolf tomorrow. We got one of the spectaculars coming on as well. So we've had a big thanks to Ken Anderson for doing a last minute one, literally just before Mania. We've been trying to make it happen prior to it, but it finally happened. Yes, he done his signature entrance. So please go and watch that as well. Watch all of our shit. We'll be back. We'll also got a couple of weeks' time. We'll be back at Ignite. to go and see our boy Smashing Mike with our championship. We're on the road to our event in July. Buckle up, our sponsored event with Ignite. Some major announcements kind of that in the next couple of weeks. So keep it locked on there as well. But Dave, it's been great to have you back again. And again, it's good that things are. I would say it's not good that things are coming down, but it is good that you'll be able to watch more and come on here more to talk to me about some wrestling. So I look forward to seeing you more of you. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you more often and interacting with our loyal fan base. I love chopping up the shows with you and reflecting. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree, but we always have great conversations, and I'm sure we'll be having another one after the conclusion of night two. So thanks for having me back, and looking forward to the next, few months, year, who knows, of wrestling. And I'll definitely be looking forward to discussing Dynamite with you, which obviously will play into the WWE, CM Punk. So I'm a
yes,
fan, as we both are. I enjoy both products, and I'm certainly enjoying the WWE as much as I ever have in a very, very long time at the minute. I think the Triple H era, well and truly underway. WrestleMania 40 will be a huge success for the company. And we'll also have Raw after Mania. It'd be interesting to see what happens there as well. So, yeah,
yes.
very happy wrestling fan right now, and glad to be back with you as part of the podcast again.
Indeed, you'll be seeing more of Dave as we roll through. You'll be seeing more of me as you always do, you unlucky, unfortunate souls. But until next time, he has been, what did we call you? The human gimmick machine, Dave Robinson. I have been Adam Cousins. Until next time, everybody, take care and goodbye.